Welcome in. I apologise for being a little bit late. Anyone who's in here is, if you are familiar with my channel, you're probably also familiar with my two chihuahuas, but the youngest chihuahua Mouse runs the house. So essentially, I was ready to go live on time. He decided he had to go outside. So we all had to stop and wait for Mouse while he went outside and did his business. Anyway, moving on from that, hopefully there will be some more people coming in soon. Good to see you in here, Bonza. This is one from actually out your way up in New South Wales. There was an inquest held last week, and it will be continued in November, apparently. Probably most Australians have not heard of this case because this actually happened in 2020, and Biddy Porter, who is the little girl who was the victim in this case, was her life was ended by a 14-year-old that she knew. Welcome in, Michelle. Good to see you in here. Yeah, it was during school holidays, and her family had split up. Her parents had split up, and she had gone to spend some time with her mother. As part of that, she also was staying with her grandparents for a while. Her mother was working, so she was like, well, a bit of time with your grandparents. There was a farm that she was staying at. Her grandparents had to go do some stuff. So she was staying at this farm for, I think it was going to be, a few days or a week or something. And these were obviously people very close to her. And the 14-year-old girl was struggling with schizophrenia. Nobody really did anything about it. And the result was that little 10-year-old Biddy lost her life. Now, I've got some videos that I'm going to go through with this. I have done my best to edit out the majority of the most triggering things about this case, because there are some things that I think are probably not good for people to be hearing about. I did leave one portion in towards the end of the video when her father is talking. I will give you a warning ahead of time. Welcome in, Deborah. Good to see you in here. Now, the reason I said that probably even a lot of Australians don't know Biddy's case, and I'm just going to put a slideshow on while I'm talking. The reason I'm saying that a lot of Australians probably don't know Biddy's case is because the girl responsible for what happened to Biddy was 14, and because of her mental health issues, the Supreme Court decided to silence this case. Welcome in, Teresa. So Biddy's parents were basically prevented from talking about what had happened. And for 2 years, they were silenced, and Biddy was essentially stripped of her identity. So now there's an inquest happening. I think it's about 2 years ago. Biddy's parents finally got help and found a way to basically get her name out there again. So now it's time to basically get her story told, get her name out there, and just try and get the story out there to get a change, because this has been so painful for her family, and it is something that they are still struggling with. So it's definitely time to tell Biddy's story and to hopefully make a change so, this doesn't happen to another family. Welcome in, Barmacat. Sorry if I've got that wrong. So I've just got some videos playing at the moment. While they are still playing, before I start on the information about the inquest, I will just go through a few other things. So first of all, if you haven't hit the like button, please do that. So this is going back to 2020, like I said. This was July 2020, 8th of July. So we're heading up to the 6th anniversary. It's a doozy. Who would have thought that Supreme Court could actually do that? But they did. And Biddy's case has been, I hadn't heard of it until probably about a year ago. Wow, I'm so sorry for your loss, Michelle. Worst thing I can imagine, to lose a child. So this was the New South Wales Supreme Court that made the decision. Now, the girl that was responsible for taking Biddy's life, they made the decision that she couldn't be identified for legal reasons, and that she was not criminally responsible due to mental illness. Now, this decision was made in 2021. But with that came the silencing of Biddy's family, because there is a connection between Biddy and the girl who was responsible for her death. So the Supreme Court basically said that in identifying Biddy, it would essentially make it possible for people to identify the girl who was responsible. Of course, what makes that insane is that, given the area, I would imagine people know anyway. Yeah, she would be 16 now. She'd be doing her final year of high school, I guess. Like, well, year 10 anyway. And it just sounds like this was a girl with a beautiful, bright future, and just taken away from her. So the assessment that was made, and this is what has come out so far in the inquest. So the inquest was for 2 days last week, I believe, 2 or 3 days. And then it was postponed till November. Now, I'm not sure why that is. I couldn't see that in any of the articles. There must be a reason for it being postponed till November. But thankfully, the media have reported on some of the information that's come out. So first of all, they're saying that the teenager had schizophrenia and she was in acute psychosis at the time that she took Biddy's life. Now, the media is reporting that she's been in custody since her arrest. The other girl was 14, only 4 years older than Biddy. And here's one of the things that Biddy's family is really struggling with, and that is that the 14-year-old, who's now 18, from like 2 years ago, when the story that I'm going to play, yeah, she'd be 20 now. As of 2 years ago, they were allowing her day release from the institution where she was being held. So when the prosecutor and the defense and everything, when all the legal team were talking to Biddy's family about how to go ahead with the case, they told them that the better option would be to accept for this girl to be not to go to trial, but to be declared, having not criminally responsible. And they said she would probably be locked away for longer because of that. The problem was Biddy's family were only given a week to make that decision. The pressure was put on them because the prosecutor was going away on holiday in a week's time. So they were given a week to make the decision. They weren't given all the information they needed. And also, the deadline would have been 1 day short of the 1 year anniversary. So it would have been a really emotional time for them anyway. So they agreed rather than it to go to trial, for this girl to be declared not criminally responsible and to basically be put into a mental hospital. Yeah, she was never tried. And there is now there's a 2-year review every 2 years, which the parents have to actually sit through. And they had been told that if they went down that road, then it would probably be at least 13 years before she was released at any point in time. But now, turns out they started giving her day release 2 years ago, which was only 4 years after she did what she did. So that's a major failing, if you ask me. No, the parents can't request a trial. So they had to fight for this inquest to happen first. So that's a win. They've been getting support from Advocacy Australia. And before Advocacy Australia stepped in, they couldn't even talk about Biddy's case. So they've been getting a lot of support from Advocacy Australia with this. But with the decision having been made to declare her not criminally responsible, that means there's no chance now of any trial ever. Because once that decision's been made and they go with it, then it means that there's no possibility of any trial at any point in time. When you hear about this girl, you are going to realise that you are so spot on about that. She is very dangerous, and I really don't think she should ever be allowed out in public. When you hear, this is possibly one of the worst cases I've covered. I've been putting off tackling this, but I feel I follow the Facebook page. Dom, her father, runs the Facebook page, and I just really wanted to do my bit to get her story out there. So if you are on Facebook, there is a page that is Justice for Biddy Porter, and I forgot to link it, but I will link it after this live stream. I'll add it into the description section. But there's a page on Facebook, Justice for Biddy Porter, and Dom, her father, runs that page, and any extra support is much needed. How long have I been doing true crime? I've had my channel for 3 years, but before that, I was, following various other channels um, since probably about 2018, 2019. I started following the Delphi case, very early on, and then from that, it just kind of went to following other cases. Yes, this is the problem. I've seen a lot of cases in the US where the same sort of thing happens, where dangerous people are let out only to reoffend. And I do feel that there is a good chance that this is going to happen, because the things we are hearing, or the things around this case, this girl was really disturbed. She told her mother 2 weeks before what she did to Biddy that she thought about killing people all the time. She messaged friends the night before and told them that she wanted to unalive somebody. So I have to use these words because of YouTube. Her parents saw all these signs and they didn't recognize it as mental illness. To them, they just thought it was something about school bullying, probably to do with video games, and something to do with teenage hormones. I haven't mentioned yet how Biddy was killed. It was a 14-year-old girl that she knew, and the 14-year-old girl had a collection of knives. And it was not, more than stabbed. It was brutal. It was described as being really, really brutal. Bonza, essentially, she was left in the household with Biddy because the mother and the younger sister went out to milk one of the cows, and they were going to take Biddy with them. But Biddy, not being a farm girl, was a bit sleepy, so they left her at the farmhouse with this 14-year-old girl. And by the time they returned, the house was not in a good situation. I'm not going to go into that. And they found Biddy in one of the rooms. The girl had done some really horrible things and ended her life. So yeah, she was essentially left unsupervised with an unstable 14-year-old that they knew was unstable. One of the things that came out in the inquest last week was the mother of the 14-year-old said that she didn't think, or she didn't believe in mental illness. Well, it's a shame that she didn't, because there were so many warning signs beforehand. I'll get back into all of that as we go through. Yeah. I really think the justice system failed Biddy in this instance. So I'm going to start with a news clip from last week. Can Biddy's parents charge the other parents? All they could do, I guess, would be a civil case. I think when we get to the end of this, you'll probably understand why that's probably a challenge for her parents. So I'll start with the news footage.
The mother of a teenage killer says her only regret is not getting help for her daughter's mental health before she stabbed a 10-year-old girl to death. Biddy Porter's parents know they'll never get justice, but are hoping an inquest could save other families from heartbreak.
They want her name remembered. Her parents fought for it.
It's so important that Biddy is known.
Bridgette Porter, yet her killer's own mother could not utter Biddy's name. I can only speak for myself, the horror, nightmares and grief I have suffered, and so can only imagine the grief the parents have suffered in losing their baby girl. The woman's 14-year-old daughter loved knives, heard voices and fantasised about killing her own parents when she stabbed Biddy to death.
I just want to add on to that. Yeah, I agree. It's bizarre to not believe in mental illness because, especially in this day and age, it's not like we're talking about the 1960s when people didn't talk about mental health issues. These days, we talk about mental health issues a lot. One of the things that this is something that came out with the inquest, this girl told her parents, aside from saying that she, fantasized about unaliving people and hearing voices, she was also telling her parents that she could see an evil Cheshire cat in her room. And they just dismissed that. None of what we're hearing about this girl is normal.
Regret is that I couldn't get more help for her or have more understanding about mental health. But the teenager's grandmother told an inquest today she saw the red flags. This was a little girl in crisis and she needed help to prevent a possible tragedy. Now those words have come back to haunt me again and again and again.
Biddy?
I just want to comment, I know it would be hard for the grandmother, but minimising it by referring to a 14-year-old as a little girl, that's painful to hear because Biddy was the little girl. Biddy was only 10. So to minimise it and say that refer to the 14-year-old as a little girl in crisis, she was a teenager. She was no longer a little girl. And anyone that is capable of doing something like that is not a little girl.
Supposed to be at her grandmother's during the school holidays, but a change in plans meant she stayed at the killer's house. The grandmother said she had been told the teenager's mental health had been addressed, but she was wrong. The teenager was found not criminally responsible for Biddy's death on mental health grounds.
I don't think there'll ever be justice for Biddy, but what we do hope is that some things can be found that can be put in place to prevent similar tragedies from happening.
Leonie Ryan, 7 News.
Yes, this should have been tried in court. I'm going to let you draw the conclusion for yourself in terms of if the girls were related, because apparently we're not really meant to say anything that's going to identify the other girl. But perhaps you can tell by my response what the answer to that is as well. If that kind of helps you understand. The legal system is really broken. They weren't siblings. I'll just say that. They weren't siblings or half siblings or step siblings or anything like that.
Smart and vibrant 10-year-old girl called Bridgette, but known as Biddy. Until now, her name, her face, and her story have been cruelly lost in a mountain of legal documents and complicated legislation. You see, Biddy was brutally killed by a teenager she played with the day before. In order to protect the teenage killer, so much of Biddy's story has been banned by a court, fearing it could identify the killer. Her parents lived in fear of mentioning their daughter's name in public. Well, tonight we help Biddy's parents remember their beautiful daughter and tell the confronting full story for the first time. And a writer way beyond her years.
Where's the Anzac one? Screaming and yelling like sirens, my eardrums burn. My arm emerges from the sheets and mutes the anarchy. Wow. Wow.
Oh no, she's a clever girl. Yeah.
Wow.
Apparently, Biddy wanted to be a journalist. And on the Facebook page, Dom has shared a lot of Biddy's writings, which I think is a lovely thing. I think she really did have a big future.
And definitely a daddy's girl.
My dad's name is Dom. He's 44 years old. He has black hair and brown eyes. His favourite food is chips. His favourite colour is black. He likes to watch the news. My favourite things to do with Dad is we like to go outside. I love my dad. Happy Father's Day 2016.
This was the daughter parents dream about.
Hi guys, it's my mom's birthday.
Oh gosh, I just miss her little presence. I miss her giggles. I miss caring for her.
So pretty.
I miss loving her. I miss her love. She was a very sweet girl. She slept with me in my bed every night. She'd always come into our bed, and I miss that.
Adored and admired at her tiny bush primary school.
Well, there you go. Oh, that breaks your heart. I know heaven will be a beautiful place because they have you.
Yep.
I will miss you. From Arthur.
P.S. Here's a lollipop for you to have when you're in heaven.
Well, Rebecca, finally we can sit here and tell Biddy's story. To get to this point, to be able to speak publicly about your daughter, how important is that for you?
It's hugely important, Michael.
This is unreal. So this was only done 2 years ago. This is 2 years old, this documentary. And this was the first time when they were able to share Biddy's name and share her story. Yeah, that's the thing. If she's on day release, then how do they know? How can they guarantee when they're saying that for a 14-year-old it's extremely rare, when they're saying that the psychosis was extreme, they're saying that she's going to have to be medicated for the rest of her life, and that basically it is something that is, they're saying that the medication she's got is last resort medication for resistant schizophrenia, meaning that this is full on. This is a really, really severe chronic form of schizophrenia, and that they're allowing her day release. That makes sense.
Being able to have her name spoken in public, have her face shown in public. So this is a really, really big step and a huge thing for Bridgette and for her family.
In the 4 years since their daughter was killed, Rebecca and Dominic Porter have barely survived, drowning in grief and loss and believing they'd been silenced by a court order forbidding publication of their daughter's name.
Normally, you would think that someone who is on meds for schizophrenia is safe. But when I hear them saying things like, that she's on basically last resort medication for resistant schizophrenia, that means that they've tried so many other medications, and this is their last chance. So she's medicated up to the max. So, yeah, what if she does stop her medications? Or what if the medication just doesn't prove to be effective enough and she's out in public? Because this is one seriously disturbed individual.
How much trauma on your trauma has it given you to have to suppress your daughter's memory and identity?
Well, she's nameless, faceless, and just a number, which she's not. Yeah.
What Rebecca and Dominic were never told, as they floundered in the complex law of child killings, was that identifying their daughter to the world was allowed, but only with their consent, and in the cruelest twist, only because she is deceased. What were you led to?
Oh, wow, Tressa, I could imagine that would be the case, that schizophrenia is a disorder with people with the most likely not to stay on their meds, because it is such a destructive disease. And that makes it even more frightening, because if it ever gets to a point where this girl, or young woman now, is released, there's no way they can control her for the rest of her life in terms of her medications. And if she goes off her medications, I think you could be 100% certain that something else is going to happen. Yeah, bipolar, I've heard that too with, I've also heard of people with bipolar who end up deciding to stop their bipolar medications because it has nasty side effects, like the medication for schizophrenia, and instead they self-medicate with weed, which isn't really helping. It's a scary situation, it really is.
That, we weren't able to name her. The list goes on.
Well, this is a consent to identify form that you, as the father of Bridgette, I love her full name too, by the way. In fact, you want to read that out?
Yep. I'm the father of Bridgette Charlize Adele Biddy Porter, and as such, I am a senior available next of kin, and I consent to my daughter's identification in connection with criminal proceedings relating to her death.
I did not think I had the power to do this. I thought that for 20 years, she would be voiceless, nameless, and faceless.
The power is...
Imagine that, just going through the grief and the horror of losing your 10-year-old child and then being told by a Supreme Court that basically her name had to be suppressed for the next 20 years. And the case had to be suppressed for the next 20 years. The level of complex PTSD that these two people have gone through is really alarming. Grog is the term for alcohol. That's what we call it in Australia. It's kind of Aussie slang. That's the thing. When it comes to schizophrenia, people do often get off their meds and things go really badly. I'm not sure, it's probably about 2 years ago, there was that big stabbing at a shopping centre at Bondi. There's that guy that ran through the shopping centre at Bondi with a knife, and he completely lost the plot. He had moved there from another state, and he was off his meds. It can be just as easy as someone a change in their situation, and all of a sudden everything changes for them. It can be a small trigger. It was kind of recent. I'm trying to think. So the thing at Bondi Beach, that was like around the start of this year, and it might have been like 12 months beforehand that the guy with the knife ran around the shopping centre. Yeah, I'd be the same, Tressa. I'd be wanting to get the name out there. I think they were really, the family were really badly treated when you consider the way this happened. And I can only think that the reason they went along with the suppression was just the level of trauma they'd gone through. Because I'd be the same. I'd be shouting the name everywhere I went.
Thank you, Michael.
I'll give you that pen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, Bridget's story can be told.
What a great place to grow up. This is Biddy's childhood home, a country village just outside of Orange in New South Wales. She was safe and she was loved at the local primary school. And it's here where there's the only public tribute to young Biddy's life, a plaque on a swing at the back of the playground. When Mullion Creek Primary broke for the winter holidays of 2020, so began the path of tragedy for the Porter family.
School holidays, it's meant to be a time that kids look forward to. And I think that's what makes this even more painful. Yeah, I do believe that is the case. I believe Biddy's mother knows, let's say, the people whose farm that Biddy went to. There's some things that I won't pin up because I need to kind of respect the court order, I guess. It's a horrible thing to put grieving parents through. Courts should never, ever expect a family to suppress the name of a victim, expect a family to keep silent about what happened. That's so cruel. It just makes the trauma so much worse, and I think that's what makes this case even more sad, and it makes me quite angry when I think about it.
On that day in 2020, what were the circumstances of Bridget going to that property?
About 4 days beforehand, I dropped Bridget to my mum's and dad's, and she was actually meant to stay with them, but my parents had an appointment, so it was decided she'd go to the farm. She was meant to stay there for a week and then go back to mum's and dad's.
As far as you knew, and Rebecca knew, and Bridget knew, this was a safe place, a place she'd been to before?
Yep. As far as I was aware, she was actually with Rebecca. Yep.
You would never start to heal if you weren't allowed to talk about what happened. To have to go through the grief on your own. I mean, Dom was a bank manager, and now because of PTSD, he doesn't work anymore. Now, I don't know about Rebecca. I don't know what her situation is. I don't think that's been spoken about. But it's what it's done to just to the parents. It's basically isolated them in their grief. And that's wrong. It is so wrong.
Earlier that year, Dom and Beck had separated. But the farm was a familiar place for Biddy, and to make the drive easier for everyone, the two drivers met roughly halfway. For Biddy, who didn't have a sister, the excitement was understandable. There were two girls in the welcoming party. What she could not know was that one of them would be her killer.
So you hadn't known at the time the chain of events that had led her to be?
No.
And how's that left you feeling?
Although I'm not responsible, it's that ongoing thought process around you're a parent, you're responsible for the safety of your child. So that aspect's been ongoingly hard for me to deal with.
This new shared custody of Biddy meant that some wires were crossed.
My kids have gone there their whole lives. It was a happy place, a fun place. It's a farm, it's the country, there's animals, and yeah.
As best you knew, to a safe place?
Yes.
But there was something Biddy's parents did not know that others did. Well before Biddy arrived, there'd been some disturbing behaviour from the oldest of this trio.
I'm just going to give you a trigger warning at this point, because they're going to talk about her basically ending the lives of a bunch of chickens 12 months before. Yeah, this is on 7 Spotlight. I have edited out chunks of it, so it is worth watching it in full. If you do go and watch it on 7 Spotlight, just be aware that I have taken out some of the more triggering things. So just something to keep in mind. Yeah, it was really unfair for Biddy's parents. It really, truly was.
Even at this point, there were enough red flags to mean that nobody was really safe.
As I explained to you, making inquiries in regards to the death of Bridgette Porter earlier this morning.
This is the police record of interview with Biddy's killer, revealing just how dangerous that farm had become.
Did anybody know that this young killer had thoughts?
Most definitely, it was well known within the family. I don't know.
You spoke about before about you had there was a conversation with your mum a couple of weeks ago. Got some information that you told your mum. You thought about killing her and your dad. You actually told your mum that. Do you remember that at all?
Yeah.
It was well known within the people around her. It was well known within the Department of Education as far as there were incidents at the school. It was definitely a known aspect of things.
This is what disturbs me so much about this case. 2 weeks before this happened, the girl told her parents that she wanted to kill them. And nothing happened. Then, at the school, there were incidents at the school that were huge red flags. Now, I would imagine that some of the things that we hear about in relation to what happened at the school should have potentially led to a report to, protective services, children's protective services. But it seems like everyone just thought, okay, well, this is just a 14-year-old who's acting out. And they didn't take it seriously. Our justice system is pathetic compared to the US justice system. They are, it's all about protecting the offenders. And it seems like the victims and their families are not looked after. I'm not sure if I kept this in or if I edited it out, but Dom was basically saying that in terms of mental health assistance, with the NDIS, he's eligible for NDIS funding, But that funding doesn't fund him for counselling or for, seeing a psychologist on a regular basis. So he's got this NDIS funding, but it's not helping him with his mental health. Whereas, of course, the offender gets all that for free. I mean, a 14-year-old, even if she is being declared not criminally responsible, should not be out on day release. And if it was the US, they would turn around and they would say that as a 14-year-old given the crime, they would actually try her as an adult. But they wouldn't do this here. Instead, they don't even take her to trial. They pressure the family to accept for saying, well, she's not criminally insane. Not criminally responsible, sorry. And then she gets all these allowances. It's so sad.
The killer's mother asked for psychiatric help on a My GP phone consultation, but was still waiting for a call back when Biddy died. At school, there'd been a fight where a pair of scissors was thrown.
So took something of yours and wouldn't give it back, and you got in a fight with him last week. Is that right?
Yes, because he wouldn't give it back to me and he wasn't really giving me any other choice.
What was it that actually you threw at him? Don't want to say?
No.
Okay.
So a pair of scissors, there was a lot of ongoing behaviour that indicated that there was quite a high propensity for violence.
Saying that she thought there was no other choice to throw a pair of scissors at someone? And that's not a red flag? It's quite frightening, really.
Do you believe the killer's parents knew of that propensity?
Most definitely.
Other things were known, yes.
Like what?
The killing of animals that had happened a year or two before, killing of farm animals.
I mentioned the killing of the chickens. The information we got is that you killed 6 of your mum's chickens. Do you remember doing that?
Yeah.
Well, why did you kill the chickens?
Because I felt like it.
That alone is disturbing. Because she felt like it. And at the time, the parents didn't really do much about it. Like, that was a huge, huge warning sign. 12 months beforehand. And then you have all these other things going on. They would have been told about the behaviours at school. And then the 2 weeks beforehand being told that she wanted to basically take the lives of her parents. Now, according to the inquest and according to this, the mother basically had rang telehealth kind of thing for support and was waiting for a call back. I'm sorry, but your child expresses something like that? You don't wait for a call back. You make an appointment with a face-to-face person and you get it escalated really quickly. Because that is a huge, huge red flag. That is not a normal thing. It's alarming. And just listening to how nonchalant she is about this, it's quite frightening.
So they were aware.
They were aware. Yeah.
Police would later reveal that the eldest of the playgroup invited Biddy to be part of her special game called Serial Killers.
Did you ask Lee or did you ask Bridget or tell your mum later on, or did they tell your mum that you wanted to play serial killers but they didn't want to, and so you just played chases and tips?
Serial killers, as in the term, as in pretend I'm the serial killer and you're the victims. Just run away and I'll be just a bit intimidating and stuff.
Can you believe that? Yeah, Bonza, you are spot on. You take your child to the psych ward or straight to the hospital and demand that someone do something straight away. But not only that, this girl had 4 knives, including one of those knives was a machete. She tells her parents that she wants to unalive them. There's a history. 12 months earlier, she killed 6 of their chickens. And they don't follow up by taking her somewhere and demanding help straight away. They don't take her knives off her. And now we're hearing this story of she was playing a game the day beforehand where she was pretending to be a serial killer and was chasing after the 2 younger girls with a knife. Thank you, Carrie Fawcett, for the gifted memberships. I can't see who got them, but welcome to anyone who got a gifted membership. And thank you very much.
So it makes the game more puts it a bit more on edge.
There was a fascination with knives, it would appear.
Yes, a fascination with knives, a collection of knives, several knives, and a small axe.
Oh, our Charlotte got one. That is so cool. Awesome. She had a small axe. A collection of knives and a small axe. Oh, welcome new members. Congratulations. Yay. Yeah. Wouldn't you think if your child had expressed these thoughts, wouldn't you think you would want to take that axe away? Just, it's mind-blowing.
And a tomahawk.
Recently, your dad's bought you a little tomahawk item, and you call it Tommy. Is that right?
Yeah.
Presented as gifts or something, or
I think so, because she had a fascination. They were given to her, and I just.
Hang on. So they just said the tomahawk was bought for her recently. So she's showing all these disturbing signs. And the father goes out and buys her a tomahawk? Well, gosh. Oh my gosh. That's mind-blowing. Why would you buy, for starters, why would you buy a 14-year-old a tomahawk? But when you have a 14-year-old that is expressing all these disturbing thoughts, and she has names for all her knives, you buy her a tomahawk and she names it, and you didn't see that as being disturbing? you didn't see that as something that maybe you should do something about?
I don't understand that.
This was obviously kept quiet by the family.
It was kept very quiet. I had no idea.
It was too late when detectives discovered the most awful truth of what was about to happen, written in the killer's own words.
There were diary entries showing a desire, a lust to kill, a want to kill.
Have you read those diary entries?
Yes, I've read them through media, through what the media has published, yeah.
Would it hurt you now if I read any of those back to you or not?
No, that's fine.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
So this is the killer writing in
I'm just going to pause here. If you go to watch the full version of this, when you get to this point, it is triggering. I've edited the audio because some of it is just too triggering, in my opinion. But needless to say, no wonder these parents are going through complex PTSD. Because, yeah, the parents were willfully ignorant. And to know that your daughter is having all these issues and to happily say, yeah, sure, let the 10-year-old come and spend time on our property, and to leave her unsupervised with this disturbed 14-year-old. Yeah, the mum's face is, yeah, it says it all.
diary.
Whoops.
I fantasize about killing people all the time. It's not sometimes, it's all the time. Every moment I have spare is planning and thinking about killing someone. I'll then kill my mum, but the fun only starts when I get to my sister. And the details go on there, which are beyond.
And like I said, that's the edited version of it, because I thought some of it was a bit too triggering to actually play here on a live stream.
Brutal.
Yeah.
And vile.
Biddy's name wasn't mentioned in that diary, but this 10-year-old was reading the signs that adults had been slow to act on.
Did you have any arguments with Bridgette last night?
No, other than her saying that I'm creepy and I should be in a mental hospital. She just slapped her and shook her head.
So where did she say that at?
At the table.
Okay. All right. And so Bridgette said that. And how did that make you feel when she said that?
Furious. I get told that a lot at school.
Okay, that you're creepy and you should be in a mental.
I get called a psycho, BIDCH.
Welcome in, Princess Pillow. So, this girl, her peers recognised what was going on with her in terms of they thought she was a psycho. They thought she should be in a mental hospital. You have an incident the night before she goes and does this to little Biddy, where Biddy has actually named it up herself and said, "You're a psycho, you need to be in a hospital." And yet she was still left alone with this girl the following morning. I know as a parent you want to think the best of your children, but a 14-year-old who is expressing all these disturbing thoughts, how is it ever something that you would consider in terms of just leaving a 10-year-old alone in the house with this girl?
I quite often gave the analogy around you've left my child with a dangerous animal, a lion, and put her in a room and expected something not to happen. If I had a child in my care, I would have a duty of care to ensure that they were safe, and that was definitely not done.
Okay, and those knives, you collect knives, is that right?
Well, yeah, I guess so.
So how many knives do you have?
4.
4. Okay, what are the knives' names?
Storm, Rue, Ray, Lou.
That is just really chilling. Hearing the way she just rolls off the names of her knives like that. That's the whole giving them names is disturbing enough, but clearly she fixates so much on these knives that she doesn't even have to pause to give names. Yes, Bonza, it's like they are pets. It's frightening, it really is. And this girl, for at least the last 2 years, has been given day release.
According to police records, on that Wednesday morning, the plan was for Biddy to rise early and help milk a cow. The killer was still in bed, and her mother and sister were already up and waiting for Biddy. Biddy came to the kitchen table, still sleepy, and it was agreed she would stay at the house. The police timeline suggests that shortly after they left the house, the killer was out of bed. At this point, there are only 2 people in the homestead, Biddy and the killer.
Yeah, listening to that interview, it's just mind-blowing. She really does have a haughty tone. And it just makes you think, how could people not have seen the warning signs? Well, they did see the warning signs. How did they not act on it? Because in that interview, it's like she really doesn't care about what she did. And that's frightening. And that's expected if you've got a neighbourhood kid that played with knives. Yeah, sure, if a neighbourhood kid rocks up to your house with a knife, heck, most normal people would take it away. And here's the thing. This girl had a younger sister. Yeah, why didn't they wake the other child? Maybe they probably won't admit to it, maybe there was a level of fear of that girl. So the husband had already headed off to work. So it was just the mother and the younger sister and Biddy there. So maybe the mother was afraid of her, or maybe she knew that she was going to get some sort of negative reaction. But given what we're hearing, I just cannot understand why you would consider leaving a 10-year-old alone in the house with that girl. But how did they, in their minds, justify not doing anything about this when she has a younger sibling? It could have been the younger sibling that ended up suffering what Biddy went through. But they didn't see the warning signs? They didn't think anything was going to happen? I struggle with some of this. Yeah, exactly. I get that she's not a country kid. It was an early start, but take her with you. Let her nap later on. Don't just leave her in the household with a seriously disturbed 14-year-old. When I hear all the elements of this case, I just cannot fathom what it must have been like for Dom and Rebecca over the last 6 years. Because a lot of what we're hearing, I don't think they will ever be able to come to terms with in their head. I just can't imagine how you could
Wake,
cope with that.
on the move, and aware that Biddy was by herself and unprotected. At around 7 a.m, the milking party returned to the house. What they discovered was almost beyond comprehension. Biddy was on the floor in a bedroom. Police and then ambulance.
Again, I've edited that out. They gave some indication of the crime scene, and it is not something that anybody should walk in on. So, trigger warning if you go and watch the full version of this. Again, just be prepared. This really could have been easily prevented. And yeah, I can understand why. That's just my dog getting up and making herself comfortable. I can understand why Rebecca said at the beginning of this that it feels like Biddy will never get justice. Yeah, the nightmares that the parents would go through, unimaginable. Unimaginable.
Did their best. But at 7:27 a.m, Biddy Porter was declared life extinct. The killer was gone, but had left a note.
Also in your room, there's some a notepad written on that, tell them I'm sorry. Did you write that?
Yeah,
What was that in relation to?
for my friends.
For your friends. And that was because you promised them last night you weren't going to do anything rash. Is that right?
Yeah.
And
I have to pause there. So she told her friends the night before that she wanted to unalive someone. And her friends didn't tell anyone? Because it seems like that message didn't get through either. So were they just thinking that she was just being freaky and they didn't think to mention it to their parents? I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned from this case. But there were so many moments when people could have done something to change what happened. Tell them I'm sorry so it has some level of empathy. I actually think not so much empathy. I think it's more about probably I don't think this girl knows what the meaning of empathy is, for starters. I think it was more a case of them saying, don't be stupid, don't do stuff like that. And I think it was probably more a case of she knew they'd be disappointed. She probably didn't care, but she knew they'd be disappointed. It does show that she knew right from wrong. It definitely does. Yeah, she knew what she was doing. To say that she's sorry to her friends shows that she knew that what she was about to do was evil, was wrong. The grandmother? Well, it sounds like Biddy was staying there for a number of days. So Biddy was meant to be staying with her grandmother? And her grandmother was like, well, we've got things to do in town, appointments or something like that, so how about a few days on the farm? But even the grandmother said that she was aware of the mental health issues and had been told that it was, not a problem. So even that, to me, seems like a really poor choice. Because I wouldn't want more than just a verbal reassurance. Yeah. No empathy at all. I agree.
I do anything rash, does that mean that you weren't going to hurt anyone last night? Is that what you promised your friends?
No.
That no was so arrogant. No, I didn't promise them that. This girl is unfathomable. Yeah, it is like, yeah, sees others' empathy, has none. I think the saying sorry is probably about that. She knows that a normal person should act remorseful, but the remorse is meant to come afterwards. Haughty, that is the word. She is so haughty. Yep. Only 2 years after. No, 4 years after she did this. So only 2 years ago, they started allowing her day release. Like, honestly, that's scary. Especially because her identity is protected. So you have this person with serious mental health issues who seriously sounds like a psychopath who's allowed out in the public.
What happened after the killer took Bridgette's life?
Fled the scene to another neighbouring property, was missing for a period of time, then attended a neighbouring farmhouse and made them aware of what she'd done, requested that they contact the police.
Can you believe that? Just rocking up to a neighbour's property and just calmly telling them what you'd done and asking them to call the police. Imagine the trauma for that poor neighbour. Every little bit about this case is disturbing. It's so sad. And it breaks my heart to think of the family. I don't know what the purpose is of giving her day release. What Dom said, which I'm not sure if I cut it out at the end of this, but what he said was that he asked them about that because he said, is this like her having day release? Is this like a preparation for actual release? And they pretty much said, yes, it is a possibility. So they're giving her day release with a view to possibly releasing her, even though the girl is a psychopath with serious mental health issues. Yeah, how freaked out would you be if someone rocked up onto your property, said, I've just killed the 10-year-old girl, and can you ring police, please, and get them to come here? And by the way, she's talking to police. I would imagine that the tone was probably similar to what we're hearing in this interview.
Sounds like a fairly cool and collected young person after what is a beyond horrific killing.
Most definitely.
Biddy had been dead for less than 2 hours when detectives found her killer sitting in a neighbour's garden.
My name's Becky. Senior Constable. We're just recording our conversation at the moment, okay?
It was the first sign the killer was aware of what she'd done, calling police to her exact location.
I've been told that something's happened with your 10-year-old at home earlier this morning. And that she's, did you have anything to do with that?
Yeah.
Okay. What did you?
Yeah, they didn't actually tell Dom or Rebecca that she was getting day release, which is unbelievable. Can you believe the way she's just, yeah, when he's asked her essentially about killing this 10-year-old? Yeah, that's a scary thing. She's learned that, hey, I can just put it down to mental health and I'll get away with it.
First thing when I woke up, I grabbed my.
When was the first that you knew something had happened?
I got a phone call from the police, which wasn't unusual in my role as bank manager.
So you thought it was just another call from the police in relation to your job as the local bank manager, and that happened every now and then.
And it could have been to do with something that was going on in another branch, could have been absolutely anything. Then the police attended the branch, took me into an office, informed me, and a lot of stuff from there is really blank. I think I put my fist through a wall. And basically then I was left to my own devices. There was no sort of further assistance from the police. I drove myself home.
Really?
Yeah. There was just no support.
Yeah, she was loving the attention. I just want to point this out, and I want to try and do this in a sensitive way. But when Dom and Rebecca are talking, pay attention to their body language, because it shows you how extreme this complex PTSD is with them. It just breaks my heart seeing in the body language how damaged these parents are as a result of what happened to their daughter.
Do you have problems with you?
She's annoying.
Okay. How old are you?
14.
14.
Like,
she's annoying. That's her justification. 10-year-old is annoying. So that makes it okay. There's no justification. And given that she had planned it ahead of time, yeah, their eyes as well. Her trying to say that she did it because Biddy was annoying is BS, because she planned it. This was something she was wanting to do even before she knew that Biddy was coming for a visit. It could have been her parents, it could have been her sister. It could have been the entire family.
Rebecca Porter was at work. She's a mental health peer support worker.
I got a call from a relative screaming on the phone saying what's happened to Bridgette. And then I got a call from Dominic saying that she was dead. And I thought that they were joking. Like, my immediate thought was, and I kept thinking, that's not a funny joke. Like, why would you joke about something like that? That's not funny. I couldn't believe it. And then I hung up the phone and I just thought, I've just got to get myself home. So I drove home and then I rang.
Now, it is really, really ironic for multiple reasons. Because, for starters, she works in mental health, and yet her and Dom still haven't had the support they needed. But not only that, she knows the parents of the 14-year-old. And the mother of the 14-year-old is saying that she hadn't believed in mental illness. And yet, she must have had some understanding of this kind of thing, given that that's what Rebecca worked in. Was there never any conversation between them over that? It's so many things that just are heartbreaking in this case.
The town's local police station, and they sent a couple of police officers out to me, to my house where I was. But I was in deep shock. I kept my brain, it was trying to process it. So it would come into my mind and I'd start crying for about 30 seconds and then I'd jolt back out because I was so in such deep shock. But yeah, my brain just couldn't process it.
And you can see there she still hasn't processed it. And I don't think that a lot of this, I don't think that they will ever be able to process it in full.
You're under the age of 16, you have to have someone at the police station that can assist you or be present when you're spoken to by the police or something like that. Okay?
There's no making sense of what you're hearing.
Yep.
Can you recall what you were thinking?
It started off as there was an accident, and then when they sort of got into a bit more detail, I went, that's not an accident. That's a killing.
Do you understand what you've done?
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
Don't feel anything about it.
She doesn't feel anything about it. She didn't even sound remotely remorseful. Yeah, the way she was sitting was like she really did not care. She was like, well, I've done it now, and now I get attention. I can't believe she's been given day release. She should never be out in public.
Well, they tried to present it softly to you initially.
Correct. Yeah.
Not the truth.
Not the truth. Yeah. And yeah, also from the killer's family, conversations with them, it was just an accident. And it's like...
So in those initial phone calls you had with the killer's family?
Yeah, correct.
So, just stand up for me.
Do you have anything on you at the moment other than that?
So, nothing in your pockets or anything for me?
No.
Come through this way.
I guess at what stage after this shock that you've been through, and perhaps it's during the period of shock, did you realise that the circumstances in which Bridgette died were extraordinary and horrific?
Well, when the detectives came and I asked them what had happened, it felt like a horror movie. I couldn't believe it. It was so horrific and I couldn't fathom it. It felt evil. It felt like I was living in the script of a horror movie and I just couldn't believe it. And I just prayed that I wished any other death for my daughter. I wished that she died in any other way rather than this. If she had to die, why can't it be in a car accident or drowning or of an illness rather than having to have her life ended in such a brutal way that most adults wouldn't be able to cope with and endure, and she had to endure that as a little girl.
She keeps saying brutal, and she's not wrong. There is a reason why I edited out parts of this, because it is really confronting. And for the family to turn around and call it an accident, like you can just see from her reaction, this was done 2 years ago. So this was 4 years after this happened. And it's hard watching this, really hard. She has major, major PTSD. I'm so sorry about your son, Michelle.
You said evil.
Yes. Yeah, I do believe it's evil. There's no other way to describe what happened. It's pure evil.
Bridgette became a target of that evil on the first night of her stay. It was at the dinner table, as revealed to detectives in the record of interview after the killing.
Had Bridgette done anything to you?
Other than try to break my fingers
Okay. When did she do that?
a couple nights ago. We were playing the game Slap.
Yeah.
And she was a bit of a sore loser. And so I was reaching out for, can't remember what it was, maybe a high five or something. I was doing that. And my fingers were like that. And she went like that to them. Fairly hard.
So you're a 14-year-old playing with a 10-year-old, playing a game. Now, I'm not sure exactly what slaps is. I think it's that one where you've got to pull your hand away before they slap you. And she's saying that the 10-year-old was a poor loser. Well, you're supposed to have 4 years more maturity than that 10-year-old. And you're saying that a few nights earlier, the 10-year-old got upset and slapped your hand? Yeah, I thought it would be like kind of like knuckles but open-handed. You hold your hand out and you got to pull it away before it gets slapped. And you know what? I would imagine from everything we're hearing about this 14-year-old, I would imagine that her idea of slaps and Biddy's idea of slaps were probably very different, and I wouldn't be surprised if she was really hurting Biddy. And I reckon Biddy was acting out of pain. Yeah, that's putting it bluntly. She lost a game with a 10-year-old, and that's her response. Yeah, it is horrible to think of how things were for little Biddy. it's really disturbing thinking about what she went through.
Tuesday, the killer was chasing Biddy, and it sounded as though she was running for her life.
I've been told that Bridgette got a scratch on her arm or got a sore arm or something like that.
She fell on the barbed wire fence and scraped something against the dirt.
So, were you playing hide and seek or
Hide and seek tips.
tips? Okay.
Biddy later said she fell into prickles and cried because she was being chased by the killer who carried a knife named Lou.
Did you have?
And they thought it was okay to leave her unsupervised in the house after that game? I mean, the girl was chasing her with a knife and thought it was calling it a game. Yeah, I think she should have been tried. It should have gone to trial, and she should have been tried as an adult. It really does sound like she was tormenting Biddy the whole time. You are so right. Oh, I didn't know that's what that meant. So, like, tips is basically knife tips if you catch them. Whoa, that just that makes sense. I had never heard of the game, so I didn't know. But that does make a lot of sense. Well, apparently the adults weren't concerned by the behavior. It's just everything I hear about this case is so disturbing. Tips is like tag. Yeah, I thought it was like tag, but the fact that she's doing it with a knife makes it really scary. And I cannot fathom what the last couple of days must have been like for poor little Biddy on that property. Why didn't the mother recognise that Biddy was not enjoying herself and contact the grandmother or contact Rebecca and say, look, I don't think Biddy's happy here. Like, yeah, I think it did have a different meaning for her. It's unbelievable that the parents weren't held accountable. When you look at some of the cases that we've seen lately out of the States, where parents have been prosecuted, the Crumleys are a classic example of that. With, what was the boy's name? Ethan Crumley? And his parents, the guy that was responsible for the school, poo-poo thingy. And his parents actually are serving time for not acting on warning signs. Yeah, the parents were only upset about the chickens because she didn't ask permission. Ethan Crumley, yeah. See, that is something that needs to start happening in Australia, I think. Crimes like this, we need something like with the Crumbleys, where parents who do not act on these warning signs should be prosecuted. Yeah, exactly. Given that 2 weeks before this happened, she had expressed this want to do that to her parents, then why not just say, look, now's not a good time to have her here for a visit? Yes, there's a video that I'm going to be working on in the next couple of days about Steve Sharilla, which is something that I don't think a lot of people have discussed. But I'll just tell you, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I mean, it's bad enough that he just brushed off that whole, you know, so she does weed, big deal, so do I, not a problem. But, yeah, the parents, Mackenzie Shrilla's parents are just, whoa. You would have to see that she's dangerous. I mean, wouldn't you, at the very least, be concerned about your other child, the younger sibling? Yeah. Parents are held accountable when it suits, when there's a, financial benefit. Like, seriously. Yeah. And that's the unbelievable thing with Ethan Crumbly. Was it his mother or his father? One of his parents bought him that gun. And now, I shouldn't have said that word, but they bought that for him as a gift. And the mother was actually posting about it on social media. I agree. Steve Sharilla is adamant that there's no evidence against Mackenzie whatsoever. Good morning, what's up? Good to see you here. Like, the evidence is there slapping him in the face. And I can imagine I would love to be a fly on the wall now that her final appeal has been rejected. Because I bet the whole family are all having separate little tantrums. Oh, he did too. See, in Australia, we only refer to that in terms of weed. So I forget that in the States, it refers to a multitude of things. There's too many instances of parents who look the other way.
With you then, but it was closed up, not open. So just pretending that the knife as a serial killer or not?
Yeah.
When you've come back home, you've kicked a hole in the door or in the wall in your room in the gyprock. Did that happen?
Yeah.
Why did you do that?
I was frustrated, but it wasn't for just that reason. It was for a number of reasons.
As punishment for the hole in the wall, the killer's mother confiscated 2 knives and a game console.
Well, that works. Just let her keep the what was it, a tomahawk? But just confiscate 2 knives and a game console. Like, seriously. Yeah, I would love to hear phone calls after that appeal was denied as well, because they would be a doozy. Yeah, Michelle, she fantasized about that game at school too. This is a disturbing thing. So many signs. This could have been prevented.
So after Dad took your stuff off you, so that made you a bit angry in regards to what Dad said. Did you have any bad feelings towards Dad or Mum or other people in the house last night? Don't want to answer?
No.
Later that evening, the killer began texting her frustrations to a friend.
Did you go into Dad's room with a knife after Dad had gone, Mum had gone to bed? You didn't?
No.
Did you tell them that you had? Don't want to answer?
No.
Okay. Let me show you some things which we've got off Mum's phone.
Hang on. So did they just say that the night before she told her friends that she'd gone into her parents' room with a knife after they were asleep? Wow. For anyone who's not familiar with my channel, that snoring noise in the background is my Chihuahua Amira. She is blissed out at the moment. She loves doing live streams, so she's snoring as much as she can. Yeah, I do have to take it back just a little smidgen, because I think that's what was just said.
To a friend.
Did you go into Dad's room with a knife after Dad had gone, Mum had gone to bed? You didn't? Did
No.
you tell them that you had?
Yeah, he said, did you tell somebody, and that name was pulled out, that you had? Like, yeah, and that's one of the big issues. And that's what we hear with Mackenzie Sharilla. Those phone calls between her and her mum, it's like they're best buddies. So Michelle, she texted to a friend that's what she did. Wow. Unreal. This girl should never be out in public.
Don't want to answer?
No.
Okay. Let me show you some things which we've got off Mum's phone. You can see that?
Yeah.
So at 8:36, you're telling that you're good, I guess, just feeling rather odd lately. And you've said further down that something bad is going to happen and it's something irreversible. Do you want to tell me anything about that?
No.
You've got in here that you've got your bag packed and you're ready to leave. And then you've said further down, it says, I'm going to kill my parents.
Wow. So she messaged that to a friend? And nobody rang the police? Yeah, that's my biggest concern. If she gets out, she knows that she can, if she feels the need to do it again, she knows that, well, they'll just lock me up again for a few more years. Now, we're not talking about really young children. We're talking about 14-year-old teenagers here. So, surely her friends should have been mature enough, or should have at least had the understanding at 14 to know that if someone is saying that, hey, I'm going to do this to my parents tonight, why did they not tell their own parents, or why did they not ring the police? I don't think she would be released to anyone, because she's an adult now. So if she gets released, presumably the idea of day release is it's kind of like a trial run, so that when they do eventually decide to release her, they just let her out in the world. And then hope that she keeps up with her mental health appointments and keeps up with her medications. Like, it honestly sounds that basically she's just, it's, I think they put it in terms of it helps with the healing process or something to allow her day release. Like, I mean, if I was her family and I knew that she was on day release, I'd be moving. I'd be selling the farm and I'd be getting the heck out of there. Because, I'm sorry, but there is no guarantee that she's going to stay on her meds if she gets released. I mean, that is one of the biggest things when it comes to this sort of serious mental health issue.
I can't tell. It isn't real, is it? Do you want to tell me anything about that?
No.
And yes, it doesn't matter how many times I say to mum or dad that I want to or going to kill someone, they don't take me seriously. They think I'm joking, but I'm being dead serious. Have you told mum and dad that you want to kill someone?
Don't want to answer.
Okay. And then it's a bit cut off here, but it says, I just walked into their room holding a big-ass knife about to stab Dad. Don't want to answer?
No.
Why she didn't attack her father, who gave her the tomahawk, remains a mystery. But with the new day came Plan B. The killer's father had left for work and the two others had gone to milk the cow.
It's just unreal hearing all this. Like, how is this possible? It sounds like if she is released, then she's going to be responsible for her own meds. That's such a good point, Bonza. At the moment, her meds are issued to her daily. And they would no doubt be monitoring to make sure that she's getting her meds and taking her meds. But if she's released, then it's on her. Maybe. Yeah, this is just so unbelievable. And to think, when you hear all this, and to think that the Supreme Court turned around and said, to protect the victim, to protect the perpetrator, we're going to seal this case, and you're not allowed to even say who the victim is because that would link it to the perpetrator, and then her identity would be known. Like, unreal. I'm sorry, but this has got to be one of the biggest failures of the Australian justice system that I can think of. Mystery that he wasn't attacked. Well, you should be thanking your lucky stars that you, your wife, and your younger daughter are still alive. And if she is released, there's a really good chance that someone else is going to pay for that. In fact, it seems almost a certainty.
Suddenly she was alone with the smallest, most vulnerable person in the house. And that bag was still packed.
What do you think would happen to you if you got found that you had done those things to Bridget? What do you think would happen to the person who'd done those things to Bridget?
go to jail.
Okay. In regards to what's happened with Bridget this morning, we're going to charge you with murdering Bridget. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You have a very special memory of Bridget, don't you?
I do, Michael. Yes, on here are her fingerprints. Yeah. Yeah. So that's a very special memory. They were taken kindly by the lady in forensics when they did her autopsy. Yeah, and they're very, very dear to me. So I wear them all the time.
I'm just going to pause for a moment. Yeah, Biddy was pretty much the sacrificial lamb. Now, here's the thing that I'm struggling with in terms of her being declared not criminally responsible, because in that interview, they asked her what would be the consequences for what she did to little Biddy, and she said jail. This was a premeditated crime. This wasn't, yes, okay, she struggles with schizophrenia, but this wasn't her thinking Biddy was some sort of creature, like some crazy monster or something. This was her recognizing that she wanted to do this thing and understanding that what she was doing was wrong. She understood that the consequences should be going to jail. If this had gone to trial, I think she would have been convicted. Because that right there shows that it wasn't a psychotic episode. So, yes, while she may be diagnosed with schizophrenia, she still had the clarity to understand that what she was planning was wrong, and she had the clarity to understand that it would result in her going to jail. There are prisons especially for criminally insane. Morisset Hospital at Lake Macquarie used to have awards specifically for criminals. Yeah. I think, you know, she should never be allowed out, but it was premeditated. I'm sorry, but it's not just a case of schizophrenia. I understand that side of it, but it's when it's premeditated like that. She shows awareness of what she was going to do. She shows awareness of the consequences. So how does that end up being not criminally responsible? So you guys, this is actually near to both of you then, because this is sort of, that's Lake Macquarie is kind of the area where this, around the area where this happened, wasn't it? Sort of that area, sort of. I'm not good with New South Wales. But yeah. Absolutely premeditated and deliberate. I hope you sleep well, Teresa. Yeah. I hope you cover crime analysts look into Australian police not investigating Virginia Dufresne. Yeah, that's one that I haven't dug into, but I should try and have a look at it. But I certainly feel in this case... Oh, actually, yeah, Michelle, you're right. It was around Orange. Yeah, it was in the Orange area. I certainly feel that in this case that she knew. It was premeditated. It was deliberate. As she turned herself in, you were spot on with all this, Princess Pillow. She wrote a note saying she's sorry, and she took responsibility. How much more do you need to show that this is someone who was aware of her actions? I'd be surprised if a case like this in the United States would be treated so leniently.
This is the last photo of Beck with her Biddy, taken on the Sunday before she died.
During the trial, were you given everything that you should have been given access to?
We haven't been given access to anything. We had a brief meeting with the DPP before we went to trial, with them convincing us that the best course of action would be to go for the act proven but criminally not responsible due to mental illness, because it would mean that she would spend a lot longer put away.
The DPP notes from that meeting with Beck and Dom confirmed the outcome would mean a limiting term longer than the non-parole period for manslaughter. The prosecutor estimated it could be as high as 18 years, but mentioned 13 years as being within the range.
So this is the bit I mentioned before, and I just muted that to go through it. So he basically said
All
to
this
them...
was included in...
He basically said to them, he gave them a week to decide, because he wanted to go on holidays. So it's another classic example of a lawyer just putting their own needs first and pressuring a family to accept what was the most convenient outcome for him. Oh, the Slender Man one. Yeah, that one's freaky too. And I think one of those girls has been released, hasn't she? That's a good point. I think that's part of the reason why it was swept under the rug, because people were so focused on what was going on with COVID. I mean, this was early July, so we were still in and out of lockdowns back then. So that's a really good point.
Complaints to the DPP, which denied there was undue haste or misleading advice.
But that whole scenario that he was presenting did not result in a trial.
No trial. There was no trial. Rebecca and Dom went into court. There was some papers shuffled between the perpetrator's lawyer and the Crown, and that was it. It was done.
Special verdict delivered?
Yep.
Dealt with?
Done.
End of the matter?
Precisely.
All that quickly?
Yes.
That quickly?
Was that justice?
No, not in their mind.
Welcome in, Women's Warrior. I just saw you come in. I should point out, because I edited out a part here, these two ladies are from Advocacy Australia, and they came in to help Dom and Rebecca after, I think, Dom contacted them about what was going on. Oh, right, the Slender Man killers. One was released and one ran from parole and was recaptured. They're disturbing as well. So it really was it sounds like a boys' club thing. Let's just rush it through court. Let's just get this outcome where we just put her away in a mental institution for a few years, and then we'll just start giving her day release. Because that's going to make far less work for us. It's unreal.
Daughter did not get justice. And when they left the court, the lead investigator said, there's been a massive miscarriage of justice done today. You need access to the agreed facts and the brief of evidence.
They weren't showed the agreed facts, which is something which I believe, as a former police prosecutor myself, they should have been shown that opportunity to read those agreed facts as to what gets presented to the judge to read upon determining the
So
sentence.
they were never shown that? Never asked to review it?
My understanding is they were never shown those agreed facts. We've been trying to get a copy of those agreed facts for the family to read. And when the DPP are refusing to show them what the agreed facts were, it makes the family start to question, well, what's in there that they don't want us to see?
So they didn't even show them the agreed facts before telling them, this is the outcome we want. We want to just skip a trial, have her declared not criminally responsible, and they were pressured to accept this in a 7-day period. And like I mentioned at the start of this live stream, it was within the week approaching the 1-year anniversary. They wouldn't have been in a state mentally to really process any of this, or even to know that they were being given a bum steer. Yeah, Bonza, until she strikes again, that's the problem. This case has been so badly handled, in my opinion, and it just breaks my heart seeing how much this has affected the parents. It's lazy work.
The agreed facts will help the parents understand how the decisions around how the killer was dealt with, and it will give them a better understanding of how that came into play.
Have you tried to get those details now?
We have tried over and over again. We've written to the Director of Public Prosecutions. Rebecca and Dominic wrote a very, very detailed letter, I think 10, 12 pages long, and the response was no.
Come through this way.
It is called a special verdict, and the killer is now a patient in the care of the Mental Health Review Tribunal. The Crown Prosecutor's words proved no comfort to the Porters.
Because he has no control over how long the Mental Health Review Tribunal actually keep the perpetrator. It could be longer, it could be less, there's no guarantee.
But the problem was moved on.
But the problem was moved on. And I think, and the family thinks, because of the nature of this act, of how heinous it was, people just wanted it off their desks as quickly as possible.
Move it to the Mental Health Review Tribunal.
Yeah.
It's their problem forevermore.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah, so essentially put it in the too hard basket. Women's Warrior, it's a terrible, terrible case. Unreal, yeah. It is heartbreaking, and there is so many things that went wrong here with this case. This could have all been avoided. And it does feel like they just put it in the too hard basket. Let's pressure these grieving parents to accept what we want without giving them agreed facts, so we can just make the case go away. Don't forget too that this was during COVID, so the courts were backing up because courts had been closed down for a very long time. So obviously that was an issue as well. They were like, well, let's save ourselves a bit of work because the courts are so backed up already. So let's see if we can just sweep this away a different way.
So when you're out there sailing on Biddy, that's as close as you can be to, I guess, a free memory
Yes,
of your daughter.
most definitely.
Yeah. He's Daddy's present. Oh.
Free memory of her, and yeah, just an escape.
And no people, why is that important?
Just with the PTSD, it's very difficult to be in crowds, always checking your surroundings, can't be in loud places. It's extremely difficult. Shopping centres, restaurants, the full bit is very difficult.
There was a particular thing that was said to you. Do you mind if I ask you that? A forensic social worker said to you exactly what?
We're just in the process of putting Bridgette back together.
Sorry, I should have given you a trigger warning. I knew there was a reason why there was a pause there. That being told that about your child, like, it's unreal. Absolutely unreal. When you look in his and Rebecca's eyes, it is soul crushing to just see that level of pain.
It's just horrific.
Yep.
And the only moment you had with her was to be able to touch her foot, and that was it.
Yep. So at the moment of the funeral, I was specifically told I was only allowed to touch her foot because if I touched any other part of her, she would fall apart.
I contemplated leaving that part out because I did edit out a lot of the other stuff. But I think, like Carrie says, it's important to know this. And I think this helps us understand why him and Rebecca are so traumatized. And it also helps us understand why this whole case has been dealt with so badly.
There are actually no words for that.
No, there's not.
You know, there are men who've been blown up in war that suffer less PTSD than what you're describing.
Yep. And I met plenty of veterans within my stays at St John of God, and they all say that, you know, my story is far more traumatic than theirs, and my response always is everyone's trauma is their own trauma.
The one thing Dominic and Rebecca Porter now have in common with their daughter's killer is a diagnosis of mental illness. What's not the same is the amount of care they receive.
Whoops, it helps if I unmute my mic, sorry. Given that they returned from milking around 7 a.m, I think, yeah, Michelle's right. I think it was probably only about 2 hours that they were absent from the house. This has got to be possibly one of the biggest failures of the Australian legal system ever. You just have to watch Dom to see the level of PTSD that he is struggling with. I do need a light for the mute button. I've got a Stream Deck, it's a little box that goes next to your computer that you can program it so you can press different buttons for different things. I'm just waiting on a cable for it because the cable that came with it doesn't fit the MacBook. So when I get the Stream Deck set up, I think that should hopefully help me to get better with the muting and unmuting. Touch wood.
As a patient, under the Mental Health Review Tribunal,
yes,
this killer is given a lot of support.
Extreme amount of support. So she received psychiatric support, which I'm unable to access. She received psychological support, which I was receiving up until last year. Unfortunately, my psychologist was very broken by the whole process as well. And the majority...
Sorry, your psychologist was broken by what you were sharing with her.
Correct. And even...
That's unreal. When you hear him say that his psychologist was broken by giving him support over this case, it really shows you what he must have been going through. Yeah, same here, Michelle. I've been wanting to cover this for so long, but I kept putting it off because it is such a painful case. But it needs to be told. The story needs to be out there. But it is normally, when a case is this bad, I would be reluctant to cover it. But just the whole injustice of it, and, you know, Biddy being stripped of her identity for 4 years, it just seems that, you know, this case needs to be told by every content creator on YouTube, in my opinion. Yeah. Protecting this girl, this 14-year-old who, I'm sorry, but she is a monster. And I get the mental health thing. But look at the damage it's done to Biddy's parents by silencing them. Imagine living for 4 years and not being able to talk to anyone around you about what you're going through. Being silenced over what happened to your daughter. And what does it say about Biddy's value? That let's just bury her case for 20 years. It's wrong. It has got to be one of the worst screw-ups in the Australian justice system. And trust me, there are so many. But it's just so wrong and so unfair. I'm glad that this is out in the public now. The Facebook group has got, I think they're getting close to 10,000 followers. So now they are getting a lot of public support. But Biddy's story still needs to be out there. You know, it should have been out there from day one. And it should have gone to trial. It's been handled so wrong.
And under care within the PTSD ward, mental health hospital, there weren't any psychologists who could deal with the details. I ended up comforting them more than they were supporting me.
What an absolutely terrible situation to be in.
Exactly.
That's the thing. If they're saying that she's so mentally ill that she can't be held accountable, how does she get day release? I mean, in the States, when you look at cases like Laurie Vallow, they declared her not mentally fit for trial, but that wasn't a free pass for her. That just meant that they just kept waiting and reassessing until they decided that she was mentally fit for trial. If they're saying 4 years down the track that, oh, we can let her out on day release, then the Australian system should be like the American system, where if you suddenly feel that they are improved to that level, then take it to trial. Because at the end of the day, she showed awareness of what she did. It was premeditated. And afterwards, she showed awareness that what she was doing was wrong. What should be the consequences? Jail, she said. She knew. And that's what I'm struggling with.
Any help?
Just recently, I first paid for my own help when I was working, and I could afford that. But then after I had a mental breakdown about 18 months after Bridgette died. So I have delayed onset PTSD. I had 3 months off, then I went back to work, and then I had a breakdown, and then I couldn't go back to work after that. It's extremely secretive. It's a very, very disempowering system. They say that victims have the right to participate, but every experience we've had has shown that we don't. They're a power unto themselves, the mental.
So she's talking about the mental health reviews. So basically she's saying they're supposed to be given input, but they're not.
Health Review Tribunal. We just want them to be more transparent.
Every time the Mental Health Review Tribunal meets, a different outcome. I just expect the worst, and that way I'm not disappointed, basically.
It sounds like a bit of a charade, and with a bit of lip service that you can have some say, but actually letting you have no say at all.
I couldn't say it more perfectly myself, Michael. That's exactly what it is. It's lip service that we're given, and it is a charade, and they just pretend that they're there to let victims have a say.
So again, in that Bridgette has no voice.
Bridgette
Through
has
you.
no voice.
It's so sad. It really is. Just, she shouldn't have to pay for her own mental health. So her and Dom both are now unable to work. They that's it. They cannot go back to work. What? They were only compensated $7,000. That's unreal. That wouldn't even come close to covering the cost of their own mental health support. $7,000 doesn't go far. Especially not when you've got, like, you know, day-to-day expenses. And I believe that Rebecca has other children that she's caring for. Like, the system has let this entire family down. Yep. All the treatment for the 14-year-old was free. Everything. It hasn't cost her a thing. They even said that going into this coronial inquiry, this 14-year-old, she's never had to pay her own legal costs. Rebecca and Dom had to pay their own legal costs as well. This has cost them a fortune, not just financially, but for their own mental health. This is a system that's really, really broken. Yeah. Less than $1,000 per year of Biddy's life. And funeral costs would have been way more than that. Way more. And what Dom was saying about NDIS, he was given funding with NDIS, but he can't use it for counselling. They do need a GoFundMe. On the Facebook page, there is now magnets and stickers, I think, that Dom has there for selling. I can't remember the prices. It's only the last couple of days it's gone up. But that is to help with legal costs and stuff like that, and help with awareness for the case. So if you do want to check out their Facebook page, it is Biddy for Justice for Biddy Porter. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by my dog. You can hear her in the background. And there are some things there that they are now putting on the page that people can buy to give support. Wow, a funeral is 12 grand, and that's without a burial plot. Wow. It's costly, that's for sure. This family should not have been treated this way. Now, I think... Oh, no, I've just got a bit of a slideshow, I think, maybe. Sorry, I did this last night, so...
This looks like a very special room, Rebecca.
It is a special room, Michael. It's the room I have set up in memory of Bridgette.
You can see everywhere great images of her.
Yes. Yeah, lots of memories, lots of photos, her little trinkets, clothes made into a quilt.
Oh, show me that.
Yeah. This is her school uniform, and it's her school uniform, her pillowcase, bits and pieces of her clothing.
Really?
Yeah.
And someone's made it into a quilt?
Yes.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
So this was all the cats here was her favourite pillowcase?
Yes,
or?
that was her favourite pillowcase, and yeah.
So all the fabric are parts of uniforms and things that were close?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
special thing. What does that say on the back?
It says, the best and most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt with the heart. In loving memory of Bridgette Chalisa Del Porta.
Dom, everything in here has significance for you in remembering Bridgette.
Definitely.
Would you like to show me a few things?
Yep. So this little artwork here, she actually won first prize, but it didn't actually get published or judged until after the killing.
That's a real quirky piece. That's some creativity right there.
Yeah, definitely.
What do we have here in the orbs?
So these are bits of her ashes scattered throughout those orbs, and I usually get one for each occasion, birthday, Christmas, that kind of thing.
That's so wonderful. I think these orbs are beautiful. It's such a lovely way of memorialising her. The quilt, yeah, so beautiful. Just it's painful to hear these two talking about what they've gone through. Yeah, they are beautiful parents. They really are. In terms of what you were saying up there, that it would be good for a content creator to start up a GoFundMe on their behalf. Unfortunately, given the way things are on YouTube, I think any content creator on YouTube trying to do so would get eviscerated. I would promote a GoFundMe like mad if there was one. And I'm going to look into it and see if maybe there is one that I've just overlooked that I've not seen. Because I just think this family just is not getting the support they need. Yeah, Michelle, it's beautiful, isn't it? I don't know where Dom gets them done, but I would imagine that if you do use Facebook, if you go over and check out their page, Dom is really responsive to questions on that page. He's also responsive to private messages. So you could actually ask him and find out how you can make that happen. Because I think all you have to do is ask, and I think he would be happy to tell you. Because it's beautiful. It really is beautiful. I think they're just so gorgeous.
What a beautiful memory.
Yeah, definitely.
I understand you got a tattoo for...
No, they look like they're blown glass. They look like they're properly made, like blown glass, in my opinion. That's what I think, but I could be wrong. Yeah, that would be lovely, Women's Warrior. I think this is just such a heartbreaking case. You know, I wish there was more that I could do for the family. Yeah, that's the way I feel. I wouldn't dare try to set one up myself. But I would support the heck out of one if there was one. And yeah, maybe I need to... I didn't give Dom a heads up that I was doing this live stream. I had contacted him previously and said that I did want to support them with my channel. And it's a little while since I did that because we had a lot of things coming up with Jack and Lily's case. We suddenly had all those. We had the 1 year anniversary come up, and then we had the interviews with Janie and Daniel. So I kind of pushed it back a little bit. And I didn't give Dom a heads up that I was doing this live stream because I was covering this particular spotlight episode. But I can find out for him if there is a GoFundMe, and I can let people know. Yeah. There should be better support for families. This is such a failure of the justice system. I mean, they've been basically left to fend for themselves while the offender gets all this support.
Bridgette, did you?
I did, yes. Yep. So across my top left shoulder, Mento Vitae, in Latin meaning remember to live, her final drawing, and then her details. Again, part of my mantra around life is one foot in front of the other.
Okay, so there is a little bit more of this that I'm going to play in a minute, but I'm going to play it as the outro because I think I would rather play that as the outro rather than have me saying something to finish it off. Good morning, Just Jeannie. Thank you for coming in. We're kind of nearly bedtime for us. So good morning for you. And I will touch would be doing a live stream in the morning for me, but in the evening for you, for Jack and Millie. I had hoped to do one this morning, but kind of crazy morning, didn't get a chance. I would love if anyone went over and joined the Facebook group to show support. I will certainly keep people updated with any progress. Now, I'm not sure why the inquest has been delayed now till November, but it certainly seems to be drawing things out for Dom and for Rebecca and just making things harder for them. Yeah. And well done to you because, yes, even just getting up and taking a shower is an accomplishment. But I'd love if people who watch this can go over and show support to the family over on the page. So it's the Justice for Biddy page. I think, let me just see if I've got the image. I think I've got the image on here, hopefully, that I can share. No, I don't. But you will see with the outro, I've done at the end of the outro. So I've done the last part of the intro, the last part of the interview, sorry, as part of the outro. And then I've got my usual kind of little 13-second thing at the end as well. And the slide that I did for Biddy. You can see the image on the left-hand side is what you can find on the Facebook page. But it should be fairly easy to find if you just type in Biddy Porter and it will come up as Justice for Biddy. There's only one page. But I think, yeah, she really is a beautiful little girl. It's so sad, this case. And I just really wanted to get her story out there. Please do share it on social media because we really do need to get her story told. It's just horrible what happened to her. It's horrible what Dom and Rebecca have been put through afterwards. And I think it really does show such a failure of the justice system. And I think to achieve change, then we need to get this out there. We need to get Biddy's story told. Thank you, Princess Pillow. Very much appreciated. It's been a very emotional one, covering this one. So make sure that you look after yourself after watching this, because I know it is quite a confronting case. So, talk it through with someone if you need to. Just be aware of your own needs from listening to this case because it is a difficult one. I'm going to wrap it up there. So thanks for listening. Please hit the like button on the way out. This is one that I really dearly would love to see get out into the algorithm. Hopefully people won't be too turned off by the super fast audio at the beginning. I apologise for that. Normally I'm very good at fixing those sort of things. I have no idea how that one slipped by me. But please hit the like button so we can get it out into the algorithm. Please, if you can share it on your social media, do so. And if you can go over and show your support for Dom and Rebecca on their Facebook page, on Biddy's Facebook page, I know that would mean the world to them as well. Because it's, it's such a hard case. So there's a little bit more of this, a little bit more of the interview with Dom and Rebecca that I'm going to play as the outro. So stick around for that. But thanks for coming. This is me signing off before I play that. So thank you, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Because all the signs were there, but they didn't listen to them. Nobody listened to them.
There were red flags everywhere. These sorts of things don't come out of a clear blue sky.
Do you speak to her?
I do, yeah, I do speak to her. I speak to her all the time. And I say I'm sorry for what happened to her. And that I love her. And that I'll be with her one day.
I like this extra bright star name deed. So a star has been named after her?
Correct.
If you look up tonight,
Yep.
and if you've got the right bearings,
Yes, exactly.
you'll find Bridgie's star.
Fortunately, my sailing abilities gives me the ability to do so.
So her star shines brightly.
Most definitely, always.
Twinkle like a star. I've begun to wonder.